Hello everyone. Today we're going to be talking about log or flat footage. A lot of professional grade videos take advantage of what are known as log color profiles. In this video, we discuss what log footage is and how you can use it to improve your videos. Now, log footage used to be available only on the highest grade cinema cameras, but these days it has become widely available in more consumer grade cameras. So let's begin with the word log itself. This actually stands for logarithmic, and those of you that are mathematically sound will know that log functions represent a non-linear relationship. A log mode on a camera is simply a picture profile. Recording in this picture profile allows you to preserve more dynamic and tonal range by distributing the picture's exposure values throughout the entire value set using a logarithmic function. Yes, it is very complicated and I could go on for ages, but in simple terms, think of log footage as a picture profile that allows you to preserve more shadow detail and tonal range in your shot. This video is actually shot in Sony's S-Log2 profile, and let's take a look at what that looks like straight off the camera. It's easy to see that the image isn't presentable without any work in post-production. Now, every camera that can record video most likely records that video in a linear exposure profile. What that means is that the exposure is recorded in a linear fashion within the picture itself. Now, this video usually looks just fine on a various number of devices with bright, punchy colors and great contrast most of the time. However, there are limitations. One of the problems with treating exposure in a linear fashion is the fact that we know exposure isn't linear at all. We know that each exposure stop either doubles the amount of light or halves it, meaning that exposure doesn't change by the same singular amount on a scale. So the exposure line for 8-bit video, which is what majority of cameras record, will look like this, with the brightest whites with a value of 255 and the darkest blacks 0. The problem lies in that the system overloads the values at the top of the line, meaning that all 256 exposure values won't be evenly spread. Using a log curve that looks like this, you can easily see that the low and mid-range values are pushed up into the upper part of the curve. What this does is expands our dynamic and tonal range. However, it also completely washes out the image. This curve is applied before the video is compressed and recorded. Here you see two videos shot at the same time and under the same conditions. On the left is the linear picture and on the right is a picture profile S-Log2 from Sony. Because of the nature of how the mode works, the ISO in the log shot is really high at its minimum of 1600 on the Sony RX100. And in the linear shot, I managed to get a good overall exposure at ISO 100. Notice how the log footage is completely washed out and is not very good to look at. However, look at how much shadow detail is preserved whilst keeping the highlights from clipping. The shadow areas in the linear shot have been turned to complete black, and all that data is lost. So the idea here is that you shoot your footage in the log color profile, then you do a whole lot of post-processing in your editing software to recover contrast, saturation, and even add cinematic effects if you like. The result is incredible image quality with great tonal and dynamic range. Here are the two shots from before, except this time the log footage has been color graded and you can see how dramatic the effects are. It's almost as if the two scenes were shot on different cameras. There are many other picture profiles similar to log, like CineStyle, which is based on improving dynamic range. All of them have their pros, but in general, the log profiles maximize the amount of dynamic and tonal range you can record. So yes, log footage is incredibly flexible. However, there are some difficulties that come along with it. Firstly, you most likely always have to overexpose your shot to be able to get the right final exposure, so make sure you use all the tools like histograms and zebra lines to get good exposure. Because if you miss the right exposure, the footage can be very grainy and unusable. Log footage also requires a tremendous amount of tweaking time in post-production to get the desired color and final grade for the footage to be presentable. Log shooting is definitely the way to go if you want full control and flexibility of your shot. And these days, log profiles are becoming more and more accessible with Sony's S-Log2 and S-Log3 profiles found on a lot of their consumer cameras. Panasonic also has its profile that they call V-Log. If your camera doesn't offer any log options, you can still technically tune it up manually to produce a flat image, since the log feature is just a color profile. The idea is to completely desaturate your image, lower your contrast, and lower the sharpening as well. Try to get the image as flat as possible. Don't worry, you can always recover these attributes in post. And if your camera has any highlight and shadow curves, make sure you lower your highlights a little and raise your shadows by the same amount. Don't be afraid to experiment with your camera to find out what works and what doesn't. But all in all, log footage is a great feature and one that is more than welcome to stay for all filmmakers and videographers. Thanks for watching, and I hope that this video was helpful to you. Please leave a like or a comment, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more videos like this. See you folks in the next one.